Dear viewers, welcome to our new vlog. Today we are going to talk about Operation Storm 333. Storm 333 is also known as the Tajbeg Palace Assault, a covert operation that took place on December 27, 1979, in which Soviet special forces stormed the heavily guarded and secured Tajbeg Palace in Kabul and assassinated People's Democratic Party General Secretary and the President of Afghanistan Hafizullah Amin of that time. The Soviets, Alpha Group veterans call this operation one of the most successful in the group's history. This secret operation is counted as a bloody opening that pushed Afghans into a 10-years-long war with superpower of that time, the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. This war further shaped up into multiple conflict even after the USSR withdrawal. When the Soviets departed in 1989, the war had killed an estimated 2 million Afghans and 15,000 Soviet soldiers. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan is one of the most momentous events in history not only of Afghanistan but of the world. The Soviet Union as a totalitarian despotism could not afford to be defeated. As soon as it was defeated, it began to disintegrate and resulted in the formation of 15 independent states. Dear viewers, before we move ahead, please don't forget to subscribe our channel. Do mention your feedback in the comment section below. Thanks. Why Soviets needed to kill Hafizullah Amin? Before we go further into the details of operation, it's important to page back and study a bit of details from history in brief, just to save time. Before Amin, Nur Muhammad Tariki, was president of Afghanistan who was pro-Soviet Union and installed by Kremlin. His rule took the cordial Afghan-Soviet relations to the next level. Tariki's political reforms which he made on the orders of his masters in Kremlin, most notably the ones regarding education and marriage, horrified conservative rural sensibilities, eventually sparked outrage among common Afghans that opposition shaped up as a resistance force from religious-minded people. In September 1979, Tariki government was toppled by Hafizullah Amin, due to intra-party clashes which were rising from the past few months between the two. After throwing Tariki out of power, he was imprisoned on the order of Amin. Further to these order he was suffocated to death in the prison and no reason were told publicly other than the Tariki was found dead in his cell. But in the masses and Moscow, it was considered an apparent assassination by Amin's orders. As Amin took over, he jailed and ordered the execution of thousands of Afghans. In 1978 Communists had seized power in Afghanistan through bloody coup. The brutal strategy of Amin further aggravated the resistance from Mujahideens against Communists' government and also, this excessive use of power by Amin, created another resistance group within his party. This was the start of Afghan-Soviet relations deterioration. Rid of the government just existed merely in Kabul and few big cities while rest of the Afghanistan was under the influence of Mujahideen groups. Same as we just recently witnessed during the US-led NATO invasion, the puppet governments were limited to few big cities. Amin had studied at Columbia University, New York. Moscow considered Amin, who had studied in the United States, an unpredictable ally. According to official Russian documents, released during the 1990s, after the fall of USSR, the Soviet leadership believed Amin had secret contacts with the US Embassy and was capable of reaching an agreement with the United States. However, allegations of Amin colluding with the US have been widely discredited. On October 27, 1979, Archer K. Blood, an American diplomat, had a 40-minute-long meeting with Amin. This made headlines in the Dari and English newspapers. This news further augmented the Kremlin notion of Amin being fallen into the hands of Washington. Immediately after the Blood Amin meeting on October 27, the Soviet documents show heightened suspicions of Amin as a potential traitor who might be planning a change in the political line of Afghanistan in a direction which may favor to Washington or worse. We have been receiving information about Amin's behind-the-scenes activities which might mean his political reorientation to the West. He keeps his By December, the Soviet leadership had secretly established an alliance with Babrak Karmal, another leader from the same party but from the rival faction. Babrak Karmal was living in exile along with his family in Czechoslovakia at that time, nowadays known as Czech Republic. On December 12, Brezhnev and his key advisors held a secret meeting, where it was decided to assassinate Amin and to intervene in Afghanistan. The growing resistance that has already taken shape of insurgency against Amin's brutal rule, mistrust of Moscow over Amin, both, with respect to his loyalty to Moscow and inability to control the prevailing insurgency, to avoid collapse of communist government in Afghanistan at any cost, are three main reasons which compelled the Soviets to plan forward accordingly. In the first part, or we may call it a Plan A of Storm 333, there was an attempt to kill the president by poisoning to avoid military operation. However, somehow and to some extent, Amin survived. According to the then Interior Minister of President Hafiz's cabinet, Fakir Muhammad Fakir, rushed to Tajbeg Palace upon receiving an urgent call from the palace. As he entered, he found everyone severely ill. Fakir regarded it as a great betrayal from Soviets against President Amin. President Amin loved soups. The cook was KGB agent who put poison in the soup. The President Amin fell unconscious after having the soup. As Fakir moved upstairs to the president's bedroom, he saw two Soviet doctors were busy to revive the president, unaware of the KGB plot. Doctors remained busy in washing the stomach for 4 hours. The president seemed not to be out of danger, though he regained his senses. The raid on the Tajbeg Palace took place around 7 p.m. on December 27, 1979. The Tajbeg Palace, located on a high steep hill near Kabul, was heavily guarded by the Afghan National Army and was considered to be one of the secured places of Kabul. The palace was constructed by the King of Afghanistan, Amanullah Khan, in 1920s. Later, it was used as the designated residence for the president. The core of Storm 333 assault team included 25 men from the Gram, Thunder unit of Alpha Group, and 30 operators from a special KGB group, called Zenith. There were also 87 troops of a company of the 345th Independent Guards Airborne Regiment. 520 men from the 154th Separate Spetsnaz Detachment of the USSR Ministry of Defense, known as the Muslim Battalion because it consisted exclusively of soldiers from the southern republics of the USSR. This motorized rifle battalion had been formed in the USSR earlier in 1979 at the specific request of the Afghan leader to guard his residence, as he could not rely on Afghan troops alone. This operation was a part of a bigger operation, already underway by Soviets, the Baikal 79 operation, for which the Soviet forces had arrived and taken various positions all across Afghanistan. This was aimed at taking control over approximately 20 key strongholds in and around Kabul, which included major military headquarters, communication centers, and jails. Assassination of Hafizullah Amin, and finally installing Babrak Karmal as a new president, with whom Moscow has already reached to a deal.